Hello everyone and welcome to my Y&R Trends channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Tuesday's episode of The Young and the Restless opens with a heavy sense of tension spreading across Genoa City. The morning sunlight barely touches the Abbott mansion, where Jack sits in silence, his thoughts spinning faster than the clock ticking in the background. Diane walks in, sensing that something isn't right. She knows that when Jack goes quiet, it's never a good sign. He's been trying to keep the family together, trying to hold on to the threads that tie the Abbotts as one, but it's becoming harder by the day. The company, the constant battles with Victor, and Kyle's growing resentment have pushed him to a breaking point. Diane asks what's bothering him, but Jack doesn't answer immediately. Instead, he looks at her with eyes that carry years of weight. Finally, he admits that he doesn't know if Jabot can survive another round of corporate sabotage, and he's starting to suspect someone close to home may be working against him. Meanwhile, across town, Kyle stands in his suite at the Grand Phoenix, pacing back and forth as he replays his argument with his father from the night before. He's still fuming about being pushed out of Jabot and treated like a child. Audra lounges on the bed, amused by his anger but also calculating what she can gain from it. She tells Kyle that maybe it's time he stops proving himself to his father and starts building something of his own. Her voice drips with seduction and strategy. She knows that if she can convince Kyle to join forces with her, it could mean both power and payback. Kyle, however, hesitates. Deep down, he still craves his father's approval. But Audra is relentless, whispering that loyalty means nothing when it's never returned. Kyle looks at her, torn between the woman who fuels his ambition and the family that keeps disappointing him. At Newman Enterprises, the day begins with another storm brewing. Victor calls a family meeting, summoning Nick, Victoria, and Adam into the conference room. His tone is sharp, his patience non-existent. The mustache is back in control, and he wants to make it clear that his empire is not a playground for his children's rivalries. Victoria tries to maintain her calm, crossing her arms and asserting that she's been running things efficiently. Nick sides with her, but Adam, as always, finds a way to stir the pot. He implies that Victor's sudden return to power means he doesn't trust any of them. Victor glares at him, his voice rising as he reminds them that the family's enemies never sleep. He tells them there's chatter about someone trying to undermine Newman Media, and that he won't stand by and let another outsider threaten what he built. Adam smirks, wondering aloud if that someone might already be sitting in the room. The tension cuts through the air like glass, and Victor's jaw tightens. He orders his children to stop bickering and start protecting the company before it's too late. At Crimson Lights, Sharon senses that something's wrong when Mariah walks in looking pale and distracted. She sits her daughter down and asks what's going on, but Mariah avoids eye contact. After a long pause, she blurts out that Tessa hasn't been herself lately, and last night she found a pregnancy test hidden in their bathroom drawer. Sharon is stunned, her mind racing through possibilities. Mariah's voice cracks as she says Tessa's been distant, emotional, and refusing to talk about what's bothering her. Sharon gently asks if it's possible the test was positive. Mariah admits she doesn't know because Tessa won't say a word. She confesses she's terrified, not just about a baby, but about what it might mean for their fragile relationship. Sharon takes her hand, reminding her that love can survive anything if both people are honest. But Mariah shakes her head, saying honesty has been the hardest thing between them lately. Later, Tessa arrives at the coffee house, unaware that Mariah and Sharon have been talking about her. The moment she sees Mariah's tear-stained eyes, she realizes the secret is out. Sharon gives them space as the couple sits in awkward silence. Tessa finally admits the truth. She's pregnant. Her voice trembles as she says she didn't plan it, didn't even think it was possible after everything they've been through. Mariah's shock turns to anger as she asks how Tessa could hide something like that from her. Tessa breaks down, sobbing that she was afraid Mariah wouldn't want this, that the timing was wrong, and that she didn't want to face rejection. Mariah's emotions spiral out of control. She accuses Tessa of betrayal, of making life-changing decisions alone. The tension escalates until Mariah blurts out something she instantly regrets, that maybe she doesn't even want this baby. The words hit Tessa like a slap, and for a moment, neither of them can breathe. Back at Newman Enterprises, Nate tries to calm Victoria after the explosive family meeting. She's pacing her office, fuming that her father refuses to trust her judgment. Nate warns her not to let emotions cloud her decisions, but she snaps that she's tired of being treated like a pawn. She worked hard to earn her position, and she's not going to let Victor or Adam take it from her. Nate steps closer, reminding her that she's not alone, that he's still on her side. Their chemistry simmers, the unspoken tension between them reawakening. Just as Victoria leans in, her phone buzzes with a message from Victor ordering her to come to the ranch. She sighs, muttering that the battle never ends. Nate watches her leave, wondering if he's aligning himself with a woman who's too far gone in her quest for power. At society, Phyllis sits alone at the bar, swirling a martini and thinking about the mess she's created. Her attempt to rebuild her life after countless schemes hasn't gone as planned. She's lost friends, trust, and even her children's faith in her. But she's not ready to give up. When Danny Romalotti walks in, her expression softens. He greets her warmly, but he can tell something's off. Phyllis admits she's been thinking a lot about the past, about the bridges she's burned and the people she's hurt. Danny tells her it's never too late to make things right, but Phyllis shakes her head, saying some mistakes can't be undone. Their conversation takes a turn when Christine enters and freezes at the sight of them together. Danny tries to ease the tension, but Christine's eyes flash with old jealousy and new caution. She warns Phyllis to stay away from Danny, reminding her that history doesn't need to repeat itself. Phyllis smirks, claiming she's just having a friendly drink, but her expression says otherwise. At the Abbott mansion, Jack receives a mysterious call from someone claiming to have information about the person sabotaging Jabot's shipments. The caller refuses to identify themselves, but insists that Kyle has been seen meeting with a competitor's executive. Jack's blood runs cold. He refuses to believe his son could betray him again, but the evidence keeps piling up. When Diane walks in, he doesn't hide the truth. She immediately defends Kyle, insisting it must be a misunderstanding, but Jack's expression says he's not so sure. He decides to confront Kyle directly. Diane pleads with him to wait, but Jack's patience has worn thin. As he storms out, she whispers to herself that if Kyle really did this, everything they've worked for will come crashing down. Over at the Grand Phoenix, Kyle is still with Audra when there's a sharp knock on the door. He opens it to find his father standing there, eyes blazing. The confrontation is tense and emotional. Jack demands to know if Kyle's been feeding information to their competitors. Kyle's initial reaction is denial, but when Jack presses harder, his temper flares. He accuses his father of never trusting him, of always seeing him as a screw-up. Jack fires back that trust has to be earned, and Kyle's recent choices haven't exactly proven his loyalty. Audra steps in, pretending to defend Kyle, but Jack cuts her off, warning her to stay out of Abbott business. Kyle finally admits he's been talking to someone from a rival company, but claims it was purely for leverage, not betrayal. Jack doesn't believe him. The argument explodes, and in a final outburst, Jack declares that until Kyle can prove his loyalty, he's cut off from Jabot. Kyle's face hardens with fury as Jack leaves. When the door slams, Audra smiles softly, whispering that maybe this is his chance to break free and build his own empire. Back at the ranch, Victor pours himself a drink as Victoria arrives, demanding to know why she was summoned. Victor tells her he's been keeping an eye on Newman Media's finances and found irregularities. He suspects someone inside is leaking confidential data. Victoria's stomach drops as she realizes what he's implying, that he thinks it's Nate. She defends him, saying Nate's loyal and capable, but Victor isn't convinced. He warns her that love and business don't mix, and she's walking down a dangerous path. When she accuses him of manipulation, he reminds her that everything he does is to protect the Newman legacy. As she storms out, Victor mutters to himself that sometimes you have to destroy the pieces before you can rebuild the board. Meanwhile, Tessa and Mariah's argument continues to spiral. Tessa insists that this baby could be a blessing, something they both secretly wanted, but were too afraid to admit. Mariah, however, is drowning in fear of losing Tessa, of repeating past pain, of being trapped in something she's not ready for. Sharon returns with tea, but when she sees how heated things have gotten, she quietly steps away. Tessa pleads with Mariah to listen, reminding her of all the times they dreamed of building a family. Mariah bursts into tears, confessing she's terrified of becoming her mother, of letting her emotions destroy the people she loves. The confession breaks Tessa's heart, and she embraces her, whispering that they'll face this together. The moment feels fragile, a temporary peace between two people who've weathered countless storms but still fear the next one. As night falls over Genoa City, multiple storylines collide. Jack returns home, exhausted and haunted by his confrontation with Kyle. Diane tries to comfort him, but he can't shake the feeling that his family is slipping away. Over at Newman Media, Adam receives an anonymous tip about Jabot's internal chaos and grins, realizing he can use this to his advantage. He sends a message to someone unseen, saying it's time to make their next move. At Society, Phyllis watches Christine and Danny leave together and mutters under her breath that she won't lose again. And at the coffee house, Mariah sits quietly while Tessa rests her head on her shoulder, both women lost in thought about the future they're still unsure of. Before the episode ends, one final twist sets the stage for what's to come. Victor receives a call from an old associate who tells him that someone from within the Newman family has been secretly investing in a rival company, and the name attached to those investments shocks him. As the camera zooms in on Victor's stunned face, the screen fades to black, leaving viewers wondering who the real traitor is and what the fallout will be once the truth explodes. The next morning in Genoa City feels heavy, as though the air itself is thick with unspoken secrets. Victor sits alone in his study at the Newman Ranch, a file open on his desk. The night before, he received a call that shook him to his core. The evidence was undeniable: financial transfers, investment documents, and a digital trail leading straight back to one of his own. His hand tightens around a glass of bourbon as he reads the name again. Nicholas Newman. He doesn't want to believe it. Nick has made mistakes, sure, but betrayal like this seems impossible. Yet the proof stares him in the face. As the fire crackles beside him, Victor mutters that blood should mean loyalty, but lately, even that seems up for debate. At Newman Enterprises, Victoria walks into her office still seething from her argument with her father. She barely slept, replaying every word Victor said. Nate tries to lighten the mood with coffee, but she waves him off. She confides that Victor's paranoia is reaching new heights, and that he's now accusing people inside the family of leaking company secrets. Nate grows tense, wondering if she knows how close he came to losing Victor's trust months ago. Victoria says she's tired of the games, tired of being treated like she hasn't earned her place. But her voice wavers when she adds that maybe Victor's suspicions aren't entirely unfounded. Something strange is happening at Newman. Data leaks, confidential mergers exposed before announcements, competitors predicting their every move. Nate suggests calling in an outside investigator, but Victoria insists they handle it internally. The last thing she wants is another scandal splashed across the business pages. Over at Crimson Lights, Sharon is wiping down the counter when Adam walks in with that familiar mix of charm and chaos. He orders coffee, but it's clear he's not there for caffeine. He tells Sharon he's heard whispers that Victor's digging into the family finances, and it's only a matter of time before things explode. Sharon warns him not to stir trouble, but Adam smirks, saying trouble usually finds him first. He lowers his voice, hinting that he might have inside knowledge about a brewing family war. Sharon's expression hardens. She tells him that maybe it's time he stops looking for chaos and starts building something real. Adam sighs and admits he doesn't know how anymore. Every time he gets close to redemption, someone moves the goalpost. Sharon reminds him that redemption starts with intention, not manipulation. But as he walks away, his smirk returns. Whatever Victor's hiding, Adam plans to uncover it and use it to his advantage. Meanwhile, at the Abbott mansion, Jack's mood hasn't lifted. The confrontation with Kyle still echoes in his head. Diane tries to convince him to reach out and talk things through, but he insists that Kyle needs to come to him this time. His pride won't let him take the first step. Diane worries that if the distance between them grows any wider, they may never bridge it. Jack admits he's afraid he's losing his son for good. And worse, that someone is using their family divide to tear Jabot apart from the inside. Just then Ashley walks in looking furious. She slams a folder on the table, revealing that one of Jabot's suppliers has canceled a contract at the last minute, and that the replacement supplier is one Kyle negotiated with weeks ago without authorization. Jack's jaw tightens. It's more than a coincidence now. He realizes someone set him up, and Kyle may be the unknowing pawn. Diane looks panicked, wondering if Audra could be behind this. Jack vows to find out before Jabot's reputation collapses completely. At the Grand Phoenix, Audra lounges in bed as Kyle scrolls through his phone, ignoring her playful tone. He's still reeling from his father's accusations, though part of him can't deny the satisfaction of finally standing up for himself. Audra slides closer, wrapping her arms around him and whispering that maybe it's time he stops living under Jack's shadow. She paints a picture of power and freedom, a company of their own built from scratch, one that would make the Abbotts and Newmans take notice. Kyle hesitates, torn between anger and conscience. He admits he doesn't want to hurt his family, but Audra reminds him they've already hurt him first. Her voice softens as she says she believes in him, unlike anyone else. He looks at her, tempted but wary. He knows Audra's loyalty always comes with a price, but right now, her words feel like the only comfort he has left. Over at Society, Phyllis meets with Daniel to discuss a new business proposal, but the conversation quickly derails. Daniel brings up seeing her with Danny the night before and warns her not to fall back into old patterns. Phyllis rolls her eyes, insisting she's changed, but Daniel doesn't buy it. He tells her that if she really wants to rebuild her life, she needs to stop chasing validation and start focusing on herself. His bluntness hits a nerve, and she snaps that everyone in this town loves to judge her but never gives her credit for surviving. Daniel sighs, saying he's not judging. He just doesn't want to see her get hurt again. Their argument ends on a tense note, with Phyllis storming out muttering that she's done trying to prove herself to people who never believed in her. At the Newman Ranch, Victor makes a call to have Nick followed discreetly. He wants confirmation before confronting his son. Moments later, Nikki walks in and notices the look on his face. She presses him until he admits what he's found. Nikki is horrified that Victor would even consider the idea that Nick might betray the family. She reminds him how loyal Nick has always been, how he's constantly tried to protect the family from its own dysfunction. Victor says loyalty means nothing without proof, and right now the proof says otherwise. Nikki urges him to talk to Nick directly before making accusations that could destroy everything. But Victor's pride won't let him. He says he needs facts, not emotions. As Nikki walks out in frustration, Victor sits back, staring into space. He knows he's playing with fire, but for him, control has always been worth the burn. Elsewhere at Crimson Lights, Tessa sits alone at a corner table, her hands shaking slightly as she flips through a baby magazine. She's trying to stay hopeful, but the silence from Mariah since their fight has been deafening. When Mariah finally walks in, the relief is instant but short-lived. Their conversation starts polite but quickly dips into awkward territory. Mariah apologizes for what she said, for reacting out of fear and saying she didn't want the baby. Tessa listens quietly, then admits she's scared too. She says she wants them to be united in this, but she won't pretend everything is okay if Mariah's still unsure. Mariah takes her hand and promises she's not going anywhere. She just needs time to adjust. They agree to take things one day at a time, but the uncertainty lingers in both their eyes. Love is there, but so are the cracks. At Newman Media, Adam receives an encrypted file from an anonymous sender. He opens it and is stunned to find the same financial documents Victor received, proof that Nick is linked to a rival company. Adam laughs bitterly, realizing that someone just handed him the perfect weapon. But as he studies the data, something doesn't sit right. The transactions are too clean, too convenient. He begins to suspect that someone planted the evidence to create chaos. Still, the temptation to expose Nick is almost irresistible. He decides to visit Victor in person, knowing that if he plays his cards right, he can either clear Nick's name or destroy it, whichever benefits him more. At Jabot, Jack calls a secret meeting with Billy and Ashley to discuss the growing crisis. Billy, ever the wild card, suggests they fight fire with fire, dig up dirt on their competitors and leak it back. Jack refuses, saying Jabot can't stoop that low. Ashley argues that sentimentality won't save the company. The siblings clash until Diane intervenes, pleading for unity. Jack finally admits he's afraid their enemies are exploiting their divisions. Billy mutters that maybe the real enemy isn't outside but within. The words hang in the air, uncomfortably close to the truth. Later that evening, Adam shows up at the ranch, waving the encrypted file in front of Victor. He says he knows what Victor's been hiding, that Nick's name is all over a series of secret transactions. Victor's eyes narrow, demanding to know where Adam got the file. Adam smirks and says sources never reveal their informants. He proposes a deal. If Victor lets him handle the investigation, he'll find out who's really behind it and expose the truth. Victor hesitates, aware that trusting Adam is like dancing with a viper. But curiosity wins. He agrees, warning Adam that if he's playing games, there will be consequences. Adam leaves with a grin, knowing he's just stepped back into the center of the storm. As night falls, Kyle sits alone in his suite, staring at his phone.